Welcome back to the Personal Process Podcast. My name is Parham, and today we're talking about failure. So, we did this episode already with Joseph, but I just wanted to revisit it with some fresh thoughts. Failure. And for those of you listening on podcasts right now, I'm just using the quotation marks with my finger to denote that failure, in my opinion, isn't what it really is. You see, in society, there's a huge connotation that if you failed at something, you didn't get the goal that you dreamt of, you're a loser. But in reality, I think that failure is one of the best gifts in life that you can get. Now, obviously, you may not see it as this during the time. But if you add all of this together, it will make huge payoffs. It will pay in dividends. Because you see, let's bring it back to a time when you succeeded. Let's say you're a basketball player, championship games, you finish. What happens? Party. People bring their poison of choice and everyone's getting together. Celebrate. And that's all good. But imagine if your whole life was just that, celebrating. Now, if we're to reflect on those times, sure, some of them were funny. We had some fun times in some of them. But ultimately, did you gain anything really? If anything, you're just trading time for pleasure, which in times can be beneficial. But the next morning, you're probably very groggy because usually parties go into the morning and you're tired. The next day's productivity is ruined. But let's reverse that. Let's say you failed. Maybe it was during a relationship with someone that you really fancied. Maybe it was losing that championship basketball game. Maybe it wasn't getting into your dream school, university, not your dream program. The list goes on, and you can fill in your personal example in that context. You feel very down. You may be emotional depending on the context of the situation. But see, this is where it differs, this very line, and I want you to focus in clearly on this. During failure, you reflect. You have time to think about your situation. You have time to think about what went wrong. And through that, you can grow as a person exponentially. It's a compound effect. You see, the more failures you have early in life, the more lessons you get. You put it in the bank. Interest comes on top. Exponential growth as a human being. And you see, when you're in your 20s, when you're in your teens, making a failure has a large stigma around it. But the true reality is, if you lost everything right now, you still, most people would usually be in good health, would have the mental capacity to continue. On average, they would suffer from better physical health. Not suffer, they would benefit from some better physical health, and they could rebuild themselves. Now imagine the same scenario where you lost everything and you're 70. Could it be done? Absolutely. But it'd be tougher. Maybe they have a family to support. Their physical health is not at the same level as they were when they were in their 20s. But yes, they have more lessons on average, but it'd just be tougher. So my notion is to fail as much as I can during my youth. You see, through failure, I have learned more about personal finance. Through failure, I have learned more about how to make friends. Through failure, I have learned about how to communicate. If I were just given these abilities, I would have no desire to learn other things. Because why would you? You see, even your body wants to conserve as much energy as possible. Essentially, if you are resting the whole day, your metabolic rate is going to go down. And essentially, that's just the energy that your basal metabolic rate, the energy that your body expends while you're at rest. Your body will adapt to fit the circumstances that you put it into. And so will you. Through failure, you will adapt to be better. Hard situation, you will adapt to persevere. And that's why I love having the underdog mindset. I never want to be the best, because if you even think that, you're putting yourself in comfort, in celebration. I want everyone to doubt me, because those doubts fuel you as a person. And although it can seem at times lonesome, there are going to be people that if you tried to, using the tricks that we learned in our previous episode, be authentic and really connect with someone, be there for you in ways that you cannot comprehend. I've been fortunate enough to have some of these people in my life, and I'm grateful every single moment that this is the case. Now, with that said, you need to fail in life to move forward. You need to fail in life to succeed, because with every failure, there is lessons. There are things that you get from it that you wouldn't get in a normal perspective if you were just to win, or even if you were just to stay stagnant, not win or lose. And quite honestly, I've learned so much through my own failures. Let me bring you an example. When I think it was around 2016, I opened up an e-commerce store. This store sold men's fashion accessories. I was really into it at the time. And, I had a friend who was a guest on our show, David Kings, kind of helped me out. He mentored me. I spent night and day learning this. At the end of it, I made some okay money, but due to school, I had to cancel it because I thought it would be too cumbersome. And at the time, my grades were very important for me as I had a high GPA, and the thoughts for potential grad schools or programs really made me not want to destroy that at the time. At the time, I was on an upward trajectory. I was even beating my friend David King's progress in the beginning, and he was very surprised. But ultimately, due to that reason of my schooling coming first, I had to shut down my shop. I failed. And I was a bit bummed out because, go backwards till 2016 when no one was really running an e-commerce business, and now everyone and their grandma is running one. The competition was very low. The demand for the skills was very high. I had a very good opportunity that I, on purpose, and who knew how it would have gone. Maybe the next day I would have had no sales. But my point being is that opportunity sank and I failed. And actually, let's go on to another option. A couple of years later, I decided to open up another store. Was trying out some other things and different items and all that kind of stuff. But that one, I was able to break even, but not be profitable. I shut down that store. I failed hard. I put in so many hours into this, and I thought that, I already knew what I was doing. I've already had experience in it before, but I failed. I felt terrible. I put in a month's worth of work, working 10 hours a day. Nothing. But, I thought back, I reflected, is this something that I enjoy doing? Is this something that I like? And I learned more about myself. Through every single failure in my life, I learn about who I am as a person, what I value as a person. And because of that, it makes me grow. And that is something that I am eternally grateful for. Every failure, I have an opportunity to sincerely reflect on my situation. Sometimes it's not out of my own liking to do so, but it puts me into that point where I need to. Because when you fail, oftentimes it can feel that your reality, your points of view in the world, your thoughts on how the world should be structured can be shattered. It puts you in a very grim state. It puts you in a very visceral point of life where everything is something that you can feel. And although it absolutely sucks at that time, it makes us better humans. It improves our perceptions of the world. And it adds to us as people. Failure has also allowed me to carry the skills in different domains forward. What do I mean by this? Well, let's go back to the shop, e-commerce shop, which is the fancy way of saying that I managed an online store, supplied it, sold it to people worldwide. Pretty cool. But I failed at those initial businesses, as I mentioned before. And what did I gain from it? Well, right now I'm using the skills that I've learned to open up a digital marketing agency, specifying in one niche area. The skills that I've learned are helping me with my strategy today. Because of that one experience that I had doing the e-commerce store, 2 experiences, sorry, I've learned more about marketing. And I took on in-person roles in marketing after that. Maybe this was flipped. I took in-person roles and then this. But my point being is these experiences relate. And oftentimes people think that they're supposed to go out on a linear trajectory. You know, maybe one small hiccup here and there, but it's just supposed to be a linear trajectory to success. That's not life. Sometimes you'll go up, sometimes you'll go down, sometimes you'll go left, sometimes you'll go right. But ultimately, you don't look at the path that you're taking. So what I'm doing with my fingers is just going up, down, left, right to signify the directions in life people are actually going into. But if you look at the ultimate goal at the end and where you started, you're going to notice there is a positive trajectory if you take the time to get these lessons in. If you take the time to reflect, rather than using a negative coping mechanism to deal with the pain of failure, such as drugs or alcohol, to cope with the pain. You'll notice how much distance you have come. You'll notice every up, down, left, right gave you power, gave you knowledge, and gave you understanding that you would never be able to come into without it. So, back again to the introduction of this video, where we put failure in quotes. Because failure is the best gift of life. It is a gift that gives to your future self at the expense of your present self. Although the present self may suffer, it is paying dividends to your future self. And there are some failures that are painful, that hurt. But I encourage you to persevere forward, because with these failures, you're growing as a person. And you growing as a person isn't just for you. You see, everyone in your network sees you. The people that you converse with on a one-time basis, whether at a gathering, whether at the store, can feel your pursuit in life. And by you chasing your own version of excellence, you can inspire others to do the same, whether through one interaction or many. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Personal Process Podcast. My name is Parham, and if this is your first episode, I'd encourage you to subscribe if you enjoyed it. Maybe tell a friend or two. Like this video if you're watching it on YouTube, and be sure to catch us on the next one. Parham Elmi, signing off, and I wish you a blessed day.